Welcome, everybody, into this brisk Sunday morning. This is Victory Formation. Right now, you're looking at Phil Dye and Geoff Miller. We hope to be joined later by Arden Scroggins. But for now, we're going to get you going, and Arden will get in when he can. So, Geoff, I guess let's just get into college football yesterday. Start off with that number one team. That defense still looking dominant for Georgia.
They did. For most of the game, it was very, very one-sided. I think it was for the first maybe quarter. Was it still 0-0 at the end?
It was.
So Georgia and Florida both had gotten off to a slow start. It wound up being really just a slow start for Georgia. That defense, though, we say it every week in, week out, and it's something to watch. If you haven't watched them play a game, you should. It might be the best defense I've seen in my lifetime. They're going to be tough to beat. There's no question about it. Once they get the ball rolling on offense, they're a freight train. They're hard to stop. They're far and away the number one team.
Yeah, I actually said the other day it's fun to watch them on offense, but I like to watch them score quick so the defense can get back on the field because I think they're more fun to watch. But, yeah, right there before half, a couple of quick touchdowns. I think they scored 21 points in 3 minutes or so, and it just put that game away. Dan Mullen hung his head, and once they got to that mark, it was, at 24-0, that game's over with the way the defense is playing.
Yeah, Florida, they've had a hard time passing the ball anyways this year, and Georgia's run stop has been just phenomenal. They're so fast to the hole, so fast on the edges, and Florida just had no chance. Could not get the ball moving, could not get anything going. And like you said, once Georgia put some points on the board, that game was shot.
Yeah, it was, and I think there's no question this. The poll comes out this Tuesday night for the playoff, and you're going to see the Bulldogs on the top of it. The question is, who do we see next? And I think going into yesterday, you and I both thought we might see Michigan in that number 2 spot. But old Sparty had something to say about that yesterday.
Yeah, that game, I expected it to be a good football game, but I expected it to be kind of lopsided down the stretch. Michigan State historically has had a hard time putting points on the board at times. And I thought this might be one of those times. I was dead wrong. I wish Arden was here to defend his Michigan State guys because he's been preaching Michigan State to us all year. But they played a good football game. It was fun. It was a fun football game to watch, and I don't usually say that about a Big Ten football game. But Michigan State's for real. They played with them.
Yeah, I wanted to go on and get this game out of the way before Arden got on the air with us because I don't want to hear it. So, but yeah, Michigan State played well. Kenneth Walker, just phenomenal yesterday. Almost 200 yards rushing, 5 touchdowns. May have put himself right in the limelight for the Heisman Trophy.
With a game like that on that stage, that's exactly what you need to get yourself in that scenario, that talk amongst the voters and people like that. 5 touchdowns and that many yards, you are now right in the forefront of their brains. So that it should bring him into some sort of talk for that award at the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean, you had some other guys that struggled a little yesterday. He was definitely the show of the day. The only one really with, you have Matt Corral getting hurt a little bit. Mississippi loses. C.J. Stroud's still in the picture, though, as any Ohio State game guy would be. Ohio State struggled a little bit with Penn State, but, pulled it out at the end, 9-point win. How do you see Ohio State coming out in these polls?
I can see Ohio State being somewhere in probably the 5 range. I've got my personal thought on it right now is Georgia 1, Bama 2. I think Oklahoma moves up to 3, followed by Michigan State at 4 possibly. then Ohio State at 5. I think you see Cincinnati fall out to struggle that bad with a 1-6 Tulane, I think it was. That was just uncalled for, and they kind of shot themselves in the foot there as far as the big poll coming out. So that's kind of how I see it right now, and I think Ohio State's still going to be in the mix. The Ohio State Michigan game won't have quite the luster I thought it would, but it's still obviously going to be an important game.
Yes, obviously it will. Welcome in, Arden Scroggins. You're looking rather chipper this morning.
Yes, sir. Feeling fine. Having problems with my tablet, so I'm down my tablet during this today. So
your what was there?
My tablet. I'm having issues with
it.
So
your tablet.
Yeah.
I got you. I thought you said you were having problems with your cat, and I was like, I didn't even know you had a cat.
Yeah, my dog wouldn't let us have a cat.
All right, Arden. We just got through talking to it, but I'll let you have your moment. So tell me about Michigan State.
I mean, never gave up. There was times it looked like Michigan was going to pull away with that game. It was a great game to watch. Both teams are very good. Michigan State pulled out the win, which to me, they should jump way up in the rankings. I think they were 8th going into yesterday. I think they're a top 3 team. I think they should be ahead of Bama.
Well, we're going to get into all that in just a minute. Let's go through a couple more games before we do. The teams I think that will be in it. Geoff brought up Oklahoma. Geoff, I'll let you start on this one. Oklahoma with a dominant performance finally against somebody. There was no question who was going to win that game yesterday, but they're playing the Texas Tech team once again, who's just not that good. They should win these games like that.
I agree, and again, they should have probably won games more handily as the year went on. They're still undefeated, and they're still in a Power 5. I think that's how we have to look at it. I think that's how the voters are going to look at it. Barring a meltdown, I think Oklahoma's going to be there at the end of the year. And if they can get their stuff going, they do have a good offense. They have the ability to play with any team offensively. Obviously, the defensive side of it is questionable at best, but I think they have to be in the conversation at this point.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly on that. Arden, how do you feel about Oklahoma? Should they be in there? Should they not? How do you feel?
Right now, I think you got to have them in your top 4. They're from a Power 5 conference. They're undefeated. I just don't know if they go undefeated. They got a big hurdle at the end of the year, in my opinion, and they got to get past Oklahoma State to stay.
Agreed. Oklahoma State looked pretty good yesterday. I'm going to be devil's advocate here for a minute. Both of you brought up the fact that they are undefeated in a Power 5 conference. So tell me why Wake Forest should be in the top 4. Go ahead, Arden.
Well, that's a good point there, Phil. I think they should be ranked higher than they are. I think they should be closer to the top 5 than they're getting credit for, in my opinion.
Well, they're an undefeated team in a Power 5 conference. So, therefore, should they not get the same respect as Oklahoma does, or is the fact that they're called Oklahoma the reason they're in the top 4? Geoff?
No, 100%. And I was just going to say, let's not forget that all these polls that have come out up to this point mean absolutely nothing.
Very
the poll coming out that's about to come out is what matters first and foremost. So let's wait. And I agree with you. And I think a lot of the reason that they're not ranked higher right now is because of the Clemson dynasty, if you will. Clemson always has been ranked higher in that conference. So every other team falls behind them. Once Clemson fell off this year, there was nobody to pick up the slack that was far enough up the poll itself. So let's wait and see what this poll coming out says. And something tells me that you'll see the poll that matters when it comes out. It'll have Wake Forest probably in the top 8.
Wake Forest, could you imagine right now, though, they're 8-0. They could have Kenneth Walker on that team had he not transferred. And I know that's Arden's boy right now. Wake Forest could be looking at a Heisman winner, although they may not have the blocking up front. Let's move on. Let's go into, we talked briefly about it. Cincinnati just seems to week in, week out for the last 3-4 weeks not be impressive. Geoff, are they going to get into the playoff this year? Are they going to leave that group of 5 school out again?
I think that they still have a chance. They've got to start playing with the intensity that they played with, 3, 4, 5 weeks ago. I think they're still a good football team. But yesterday, again, against a 1-6 Tulane team that is kind of a bottom feeder right now, you can't go out there and have that in that kind of game. You have to come out there firing on all cylinders and show that you were supposed to be there. That game was too close for far too long, and they looked slow and just like they didn't want to be on the field. So if they want to be in that conversation here at the end of the year, and I think that's going to reflect again when this poll comes out, is this game yesterday with Cincinnati. If they want to be in that conversation at the end of the year, they've got to pick it up and start playing week in, week out the way they did for the first 4 weeks.
Yeah, I had even Desmond Ridder starting to sneak in a little bit to my Heisman conversation because of the way he's playing, and I think he's completely out of it. Arden, is Cincinnati for real, or are they just another team that's going to have a great record and not see anything other than a New Year's Day bowl?
Very well, possibly it could be a team with just another great record and just see a New Year's Day bowl. I can see, in my opinion, if you go by the undefeateds and everything, an undefeated Wake Forest can pass them. An undefeated Oklahoma will pass them. They already have. I think Oklahoma's 2 coming into this week. If Wake Forest runs the table and wins the ACC championship, they can pass Cincinnati. And a 1-loss Bama can pass them.
Totally agree with you on that. All right, let's move out west a little bit. The only team that's got a chance out west, as we know, is Oregon. Oregon earlier in the year beat Ohio State. If the college football playoffs came out Tuesday and Ohio State is ahead of Oregon and both win out, can Oregon pass Ohio State, and should they? Arden?
I think they should. And the College Football Playoff Committee has always used head-to-head a lot. And if they finish with the same record, yes, I know the strength of schedule is different, but they finish with the same record. Oregon went on the road to Ohio State and beat them. They should be ranked ahead of them, in my opinion.
That's what I'm thinking. But once again, we get into the name recognition. It is Ohio State. Geoff, how do you feel?
I feel the same way. I do tend to feel that this, and it feels like a different Ohio State team than when they played Oregon. I think this Ohio State team is starting to play better, as much as that pains me to say out loud. I just don't feel like it's the same team that lost to Oregon. Not saying that game didn't matter. That game did matter, and Oregon does deserve to be ahead of them. I just want to go on record saying that doesn't feel like the same Ohio State team. I think they're playing a whole lot better than they were then.
Yeah, I just feel like that Oregon should be ahead, but I'm just not so sure they will be when that poll comes out. And I'm afraid if they're not, that they won't be able to pass them now because of the strength of schedule that Ohio State has coming down the stretch.
I agree, and that name recognition does mean a lot. It's been proven time and time again with these voters and the committees and everything else that your Oklahomas, your Bamas, your Clemsons, your Ohio States, they're Notre Dame especially, they're constantly up there based on name.
Well, let's stay in the Big Ten and think back for just a second. Oh, how long ago 2 weeks seems when we said number 2 Iowa. Wow. They got blown out of the water yesterday by Wisconsin. totally out of the picture now. Do they even get in a New Year's Day bowl now?
No,
I think they've effectively fought their way out of it. After losing to Purdue and losing the way they lost yesterday, which was just miserable, they can kind of kiss January 1st goodbye.
Yeah, I don't think they even have a chance. Well, they're going to be a big underdog no matter who they face in the Big Ten championship game if they get there now, which is not guaranteed. So enough about Iowa. They are yesterday's news. What was yesterday's news, especially last night, big game down on the plains in Auburn, Alabama. We both all three talked about this game. The winner of this still very much in the mix for a playoff berth. Auburn came out, looked pretty good in the first quarter. Matt Corral got a little banged up, although he finished playing the game. But Auburn comes out with an 11-point win, 31-20. Arden, how does Auburn look the rest of the year? I know they got a pretty tough schedule left with A&M and Alabama. Do you think they've got a chance?
If they can pull out the victory next week against A&M on the road, they've always got a chance against Bama. It's a big rivalry. It's in Auburn. If they do it, and get to the SEC championship game, and say for some reason they did upset Georgia, they're a two-loss team, Auburn is. Do they jump some one-loss teams and get in?
You never know.
No, you don't.
The thing too is I think I said it a couple weeks ago. Bo Nix is not making the mistakes he used to. For the last 2 or 3 weeks, he has been pretty consistent at that position. So I think that has a lot to do with their success here lately, and they've been getting better every single week. Bella.
I think she's saying "Go Braves," if I interpreted that correctly.
Either that or she found the cat. You thought I said, Phil.
Yeah, there's your cat that you lost, Arden.
No, if there was a cat, there isn't anymore.
All right. Hey, we were talking just now, though. Ole Miss looks like they're kind of out of the picture now. We thought they could possibly be in it. We separated the men from the boys, so to speak, yesterday. Another team we thought possibly could hang around and stay in it if they won out, Kentucky. And what happened to Kentucky last night, Arden?
I'm still trying to figure that one out. That just blows my mind. I did not see that coming. I seen that score being about that way, but I figured it was Kentucky winning.
Yeah, Geoff, did you think Kentucky would win that game as well?
Yeah, I had no reason not to. The only thing I've really got on that is Kentucky. They seem to do it every year at some point in time or another, no matter how good they get. And I guess last night was that game. It surprised me. I couldn't believe after the way they played some of these other teams, other games, that they were on the bad end of that one.
Yeah. It just seems like this year could have possibly been their year to make that statement. I know they went to a New Year's game once already under Mark Stoops, but he's done a heck of a job there. It just seems like they stumble at the wrong time sometimes. Another one-loss team we've still got in the mix, even though they had one loss, but it's to the number 2 team in the country, is Notre Dame. They just keep winning, but they don't look good doing it either. They beat North Carolina last night. I actually thought North Carolina had a really good shot at winning this game. Geoff, is there a way for Notre Dame to climb back in?
What is Notre Dame's the rest of their schedule look like? Do you happen to know, Arden?
I do not know.
I don't.
I can look it up real quick. I've got it right. Yeah, I've got it. They play Navy, Virginia, Georgia Tech, and Stanford. So, you're looking at teams that can throw up some points, but not a game there that they shouldn't be a favorite in.
No, and they will be a favorite going in every one of those games. I don't think that they deserve to be in the playoff talk. They just haven't looked. They haven't passed the eye test, so to speak. They haven't looked like the team that they have at times in the past. I just don't want to. I wish Notre Dame got into a conference and played that kind of schedule every year, and it wasn't the conference they decided to get into, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, well, a lot of people have said that for a lot of years, but money talks and NBC pays. So,
yes, correct. I agree. I hate nothing more than having to watch them every week on the same channel, especially when it's not a good product. And this year it's been okay. It just hasn't been what seems like it hasn't been one of their best years. So I don't think the playoff talk is in the picture. I think they're definitely in line for a New Year's Day bowl. And I think they probably went out. They should. If they don't, they're definitely not in the talk. If they do, I still think that strength of schedule has them come up short.
it possibly will. Speaking of strength of schedules and coming up short, playing in the ACC does you no favors, obviously, but it looked like Pittsburgh had a chance to actually make a statement and lays a big egg against Miami at home yesterday. Miami 38-34. Kenny Pickett probably out of the Heisman now as well, just from one game. I don't know if that's fair, but he had good stats. But when you lose, it brings you down. Pittsburgh probably out now, don't you think?
Yes.
Or Arden, go ahead.
Yes, I agree with you, Phil. Pittsburgh's probably out. And like you said, Pickett had a good game. He don't play defense, but that's the way the Heisman goes. As your team struggles, you fall down the rankings of the Heisman list.
Geoff, any thoughts on Pittsburgh at all, or are they once again now, as we were saying today, yesterday's news?
So I was kind of on the Pitt bandwagon. They have looked really good this year. I wasn't going to take them completely out of the playoff talk up until their loss yesterday. Now, obviously, it's null and void. They will not be in the top, 4 or 5 when it comes right down to the wire. It was just a really bad loss. They're probably still going to find their way into the ACC championship game. But I think the only relevant team in the talk of playoff out in the ACC is going to be is Wake Forest.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you now. I think Wake Forest is going to be the talk of the town in the ACC. Really, what's become an irrelevant conference over the last few years without Clemson, and I think that Clemson dominance, like you said earlier, does hurt them. We've still got a few teams that are hanging around that 7-1 mark. Several of them were undefeated going into yesterday. A couple of teams we didn't think were going to make the playoffs anyway, being in the group of 5. SMU and San Diego State both go down last night. Houston beating SMU goes to 7-1. All of them are tied now, along with Coastal Carolina. But I don't think any of those teams can get in over any one-loss team that's in the Power 5. So I think now it's down to Cincinnati or bust. We did have a couple other games yesterday that we haven't brought up yet, one being Baylor and Texas. Baylor's still at 7-1. Texas looks like they just are thinking ahead to the SEC and what their record's going to look like then. 4-4 now, Geoff.
And it probably shouldn't be that good. And I guess at the same time, it could be better. They've given away so many games. I mean, what was it? They were up by 3 touchdowns with Oklahoma. They were up. What was the week after that? Who did they play the week after that? Was it Oklahoma State?
Yes, it was Oklahoma State, and they lost 32-24.
And they were up like 24-7 at one point, or something like that.
Yeah,
I think they were up big.
Good in that game.
So 2 weeks straight, they found a way to give it away. I don't know. Texas seems like a team that had to close. They can't. They just don't know how to win, which doesn't bode real well coming into the SEC. They're liable to get hurt a little bit off the bat if they don't know how to finish out games, especially to a team that or in a conference that we all have rather subpar defenses.
Yeah, they are. I think, we talk mostly about Texas in this game, Arden, but I mean, the team they played, Baylor, 7-1, and still has Oklahoma on the schedule. Baylor can still make some noise in this Big 12 as well, and possibly even win the whole thing.
Yes, they very well could. I mean, they can control their own destiny. With the Oklahoma on schedule, they went out. You could be looking at your Big 12 champions being Baylor with one loss. But I don't think a one-loss Baylor, because their name recognition isn't there, I don't think a one-loss Baylor gets in the playoffs.
Over
I don't,
Ohio State or somebody. Yeah, I got you on that. Late last night, there was a game. I know this is the number 25 team, but just for the sheer amount of points scored last night, I wanted to bring it up. At halftime, it was 45-42, and BYU goes on and beats Virginia 66-49 in the highest scoring game of the day. And just a shootout, and no need for really much comment on that because neither of those teams are going anywhere but a bowl. But, man, what an offensive performance that was. And I don't know. Those games are just fun to watch.
That was like last week's who was it? Was it Army and
Wake Forest and Army.
Wake Forest and Army?
756.
Was it 109-84 or something like that?
Close enough. Over is over, as they say. Okay, guys, before we wrap up college football, we're going to see the polls come out. Give me your top five. And as we look now, what are there, 4 undefeated teams still going? You've got several stout one-loss teams. Some of those may be ahead of these undefeated teams, but let me see how you guys see this playing out Tuesday. And Geoff, I'll let you go first.
I'm going to start with Georgia at 1. I don't think that's debatable. I've got Bama at 2. Just because of who they are, name recognition, as well as how they've played. At 3, I've got Michigan State jumping up and into that conversation. That win against Michigan was stout, and I think they deserve to be there and have that hanging over them. Ohio State, Oklahoma, I've got at 4. Probably not deserving of it, but they're undefeated in a Power 5. So we'll see how that plays out. But I've got Oklahoma at 4.
I guess I counted wrong there. We still have 5 undefeated teams. I was kind of leaving Cincinnati out of that. My bad. Arden, how do you see the top 5 shaking down Tuesday night?
Georgia is going to be your number 1. Personally, I think Michigan State should be number 2. They probably won't be, but in my top 5, I've got Michigan State at 2. Then I've got Oklahoma at 3. Then Bama, and then Cincinnati.
Okay, Cincinnati coming in 5th spot. No Wake Forest for either of you so far in the top 5.
No, I've got Cincinnati actually outside my 6. I've got Ohio State at 5, and at 6 I've got Oregon. Cincinnati comes in at 7, and Wake Forest coming in at 8.
Fair enough. Arden, would you like to expand yours any? I think we may have lost Arden there for a minute, Geoff. Well,
either that or he's really still.
Georgia's number 1. Anybody that argues that, or if it doesn't come out that way, something's wrong with the system. I'm with Arden on this. I kind of like putting Michigan State number 2 right now. They were we're obviously looking at 2 different polls, but they were number 7 or 8 and beat the number 16. I think that's enough to vault them up being undefeated and in the Big 10. Alabama, I think they picked a good week to have off. Just for the sheer fact they didn't lose any points. They may not have gained any, but I don't think they're going to lose any rankings. I'll put Alabama 3. I'm not convinced Oklahoma is that good, but you still have to stick them in there. But I'm going to put Cincinnati 4 and Oklahoma 5 right now as my top 5. And I'd put Wake Forest right in behind them, followed by Oregon and Ohio State. So we're all fairly close. We're just going to see how it hashes out on Tuesday night, because that's one of the fun things to watch, is see how those top 6 play out. And it'll be fun rest of the season. All right, let's get into a little pro football now as we move along. Let me switch this over, and we'll start talking a little fantasy and possibly what's going to happen today. One game I know the three of us talked about last night. Carolina at Atlanta. Arden and I both like Atlanta. You're still not sold on them, Geoff.
Well, my not being sold on them is more of a jaded feel as opposed to an actual analytic football feel. So don't take my words on Atlanta. I have no faith in them at all as a fan.
Well, do you have any faith left in Sam Darnold and the Panthers?
Not really. We'll see. It's kind of fallen off. No, he's still a good quarterback, I believe. And I think with Christian McCaffrey, he's still a top 15 fantasy quarterback. Unfortunately, without Christian McCaffrey, that's a big part of that team.
I take it you're fading this game as far as fantasy goes?
As far as fantasy, I'm going to have some Atlanta pieces. I do think they'll move the football. I don't like any of the backfield, but I probably will have some Calvin Ridley. And obviously, Arden is really big on Kyle Pitts this week. I'm not as big because of the price point, but that's the only reason. It's because of the price point.
Yeah, I know, Arden, you're a Kyle Pitts guy this week. He's going to go a little expensive, number 1 tight end in the league this week, but he should throw up some points.
Yeah, I mean, watching him last week, he made a couple catches. They had their best cornerback on him, Xavier Howard, who was a very good cornerback from Miami, and he couldn't even – I mean, he couldn't slow him down. He finally found his rhythm in this offense, and I think he goes through the roof. I think he just keeps getting better each week.
I think another play, that relatively low-end play, Russell Gage has started to come back for Atlanta a little bit and established himself as the number 2 receiver. But really all that means is he's the number 3 guy, because I think Pitts has definitely jumped into number 2. All right, moving right along. Cincinnati at the New York Jets. I think this game's at minus 11 now, and Cincinnati's been clicking. I think this is just another game where they just kind of roll. Arden, what do you see in this one?
I agree. I mean, Jamar Chase and Joe Burrows, I mean, they've got a connection that goes back to LSU, and they're just tearing defenses apart. Yeah, I think Cincinnati rolls. Running backs could be good plays, Mixon and P. Ryan, because I think they get ahead and might just start running the ball.
Well, that's a good point, because if they do get the lead, they're going to take the pass game out of it. Geoff, do you see any good things to do in this game as far as fantasy goes, as far as price point and whatnot?
Yeah, Cincinnati defense. Zach Wilson's out. Corey Davis is doubtful. The Jets are banged up. They weren't really good anyways. So I'm going to play Cincinnati pieces with some hesitation. And the only reason I'm going to is with hesitation is because of the Jets not being able to move the football. Without Zach Wilson in, they're going to be playing White. M. White.
Yeah.
Whoever that might be.
Exactly.
So, I mean, best of luck to that guy. He's probably in for a world of hurt today. So you've got Michael Carter and Johnson in the backfield. And outside of that, I'm not taking any Jets receivers, but they got to move the football somehow. So I think the backfield's going to get a whole lot of touches. And I'm not going to play I'm not going to play a whole lot of Cincinnati side of it either. Maybe some Samaje Perine, because I think he's in there for the duration of the game, because Cincinnati's going to kind of run away with it, and it's going to be a game script type thing. But the receivers, I'm not going to touch Jamar Chase today at 7,500. It's too expensive when he might only play half a game of football.
Very true. I kind of disagree when you said somebody's got to move the football for the Jets. I think somebody has to try and move the football, but I don't think they're going to do it today. I really think this could be a very low offensive performance from the Jets today.
And I agree. And when I say that, I'm basing it off of attempts, so off touches.
Right.
Obviously, you want volume, and I think that they will have volume.
All right, Arden, start us off on this one. We got Tyrod Taylor coming back for the Texans today. Is that going to make a difference against this high-powered Rams offense? And give me some players you like in this one.
Well, Tyrod Taylor coming back, he's a better quarterback than Davis Mills, that's for sure. But against the Rams, I just don't know that they might keep it close for a little while. Rams should pull away with this one. I mean, I like Darrell Henderson in this one, Cooper Kupp, Stafford. I mean, Kupp and Stafford just have some kind of chemistry going, and they're just going off every week.
Yeah, it seems right now that you can ride the Stafford Kupp train and get you a lot of points each week. Geoff, are you in agreement with that?
Well, I just wanted to clarify. They've actually just said that Tyrod Taylor is not playing this week.
Oh, and I had not gotten that update, so I'm just going by notes I had.
So they decided not to reactivate Tyrod Taylor, so he will not be available this week. He'll be available next week when the Texans play, but not this week against the Rams.
So it looks like back to Davis Mills. So long day for the Texans. While we're on this subject with the Texans, let's get your thoughts about the Deshaun Watson thing. I know that there's been trade talks and whatnot, and it seems like this may be coming to a close, and he may play this year. Geoff?
It looks that way, and I guess it really all comes down to what these teams want to risk as far as what's following him. I know we talked about it last night, and it obviously looks like this whole thing might blow over and be in his favor. If what I've been seeing about the Panthers is true, I think that's a bad mistake. I think there will be teams that would be lucky to have him. Just not the Panthers on that scale of what they're willing to give up. I don't think it's worth it there. But I guess we'll see. I don't like the risk to reward there.
Arden, I mean, there's been talk too for a long time, Deshaun Watson to Miami for Tua. Is that a possibility, or do you see him going somewhere else, in your opinion?
Well, from my understanding, he wants to go to Miami. But from what I've heard, the Texans do not want Tua. What the Texans want, which is I would not give up for Deshaun Watson. The Texans want 3 first-round draft picks and a second-round draft pick for Deshaun Watson.
And he's not worth that at this point in his career because you don't know what you're getting or what the future may hold. So I don't know. These teams, as we said, Geoff, we talked last night, somebody knows something more than we do right now. And I think that it'll all come out soon. But I think this is pretty quick to being over right now. And we're going to see him moved somewhere.
I agree. It looks that way.
Trade deadline's Tuesday.
I'm sorry, Arden, what?
Trade deadline is Tuesday.
Yeah, so it's going to have to be tomorrow or Tuesday. So, yeah it's going to have to be quick. Or he's just probably not going to play at all this year. All right, let's get back to what we're here for, the DFS, and to tell you about these games. Miami rolling into Buffalo. Buffalo is Buffalo. Miami seems to be struggling for an identity sometimes. They've got Tua back. Jalen Waddle right up there in the league leaders of receptions right now as a rookie. And he's really bringing it. Not a lot of yardage, but those receptions are coming in key. Arden, I'll let you start this game off. Buffalo, Miami, who do you see in this game you like?
I believe Buffalo winds up winning the game by 2 touchdowns or better. Buffalo's just, yes, they lost to Tennessee, but Buffalo's just that good of a team. They have a good defense. You got one of the top quarterbacks in the league, in my opinion, in Josh Allen. And he's got all kinds of weapons. And the running backs have been producing better this year. Zach Moss and Singletary are doing better than they've been doing. So, yeah, I like Buffalo, and I like Josh Allen as a play. And I think this could be a big game for Diggs.
Well, Arden, I'm going to tell you, if you play Josh Allen and Kyle Pitts, you're going to get the bottom of the barrel everywhere else. So you may have to quit going for out on a limb to get these top guys. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I understand what you're saying, but I mean, they could be the ones that make it. You never know.
That's absolutely true. They should be the ones that make it. Geoff, who you got coming out of this game as far as some DFS?
One guy, and yeah, I do like Diggs this week, obviously. But if you need to find a little bit of value somewhere, I was just looking something up. Emmanuel Sanders has been getting more targets week in, week out. Something I've noticed last week. He's looking his way more, and at a lower price point than his counterpart in Diggs. There is a logical play there as far as the price point goes. On the other side of the ball, again, volume. Tua has been good for fantasy. Maybe not good as far as the win-loss record at Miami goes, but he has been good for fantasy. Last week he had 34 points or so, and we were talking about him last week and saying you could pretty much play him by himself, and that proved true last week. I do like him again this week on a strict volume. They're going to have to move the football. They're going to have to keep the ball in the air. Buffalo should be leading pretty much this whole game. So from that game script, it should be a pretty good Tua game.
Yeah, I think Buffalo, their coverage is pretty good on the outside. I think you may see Myles Gaskin catching a lot of passes coming out of the backfield today as well. He's been fairly quiet over the last few weeks, so possibly go in and grab him fairly inexpensive as well. I do like Zach Moss today. He and Singletary have been kind of sharing touches, but it seems like Moss has gotten over the hump just a little bit and may be the number one guy now. And I think Buffalo's going to run the ball a lot today, and he's been getting the touches down close to the goal line. So, all right, moving on. Philadelphia Eagles, Detroit Lions. I like Detroit to come off the snide this week and win their first game. I don't know if you guys will agree with that, but that's how I feel. Philadelphia without Miles Sanders today. Kenneth Gainwell going to be in the game, obviously going to be inexpensive to play him, but I'm not sure that Philadelphia can run the ball, just like they haven't been able to run the ball all year. What's surprising to me on this one is the total. I thought it might be lower, but right up at 48. So Vegas expecting these teams to throw up some points, but Geoff, who's going to do it?
We talked about this last night, and I know y'all are big on the Detroit side of it today. I just can't seem to find my way there. I've been trying to talk myself into it and just can't. From a fantasy standpoint, I told y'all told you, Phil, with Zach Ertz now in Arizona, it leaves that tight end spot open to just Dallas Goedert, and he is more than capable. At 4,700, he's a little bit lower than your top end guys, Gesicki and Kyle Pitts and whatnot. So if you're looking for a play at the tight end spot, again on a volume type game where Goddard is more than capable and he's going to be the first or second look every single play, I do like Goddard this week on the play side of it. Browns. I saw one week.
I think we lost Geoff for a minute. Arden, are you still with me?
Yes, sir. I'm here, Phil.
All right, let's go on and let's get your thoughts on this Eagles-Lions game. I know you and I talked about it. We both kind of see the Lions possibly winning this game today.
I think the Lions win this game. St. Brown, I think he can have a big game at receiver for the Lions. He's a fairly cheap play. I don't know his price point to be exact because, like I said, I had tablet issues, but I do like him as a play today.
All right, well, let's go on to the next game. I think that's about all to be said for that game, to be honest, other than bringing up maybe Jalen Hurts, who's just been steady all year, but you know what you're going to get with him. So, all right, let's go to Cleveland, where the Browns are going to host the Steelers. Cleveland in a bit of a dire situation right now, as are the Steelers. This is kind of a must-win for both teams.
I agree with you. It's a must-win for both teams. And to be honest with you, they're both beat up some. I think I'm going to fade this game as far as fantasy. I think it's a low-scoring game. And, I mean, they both got pretty good defenses. They both stopped the run pretty well. So I think I'm going to fade this game and not have many plays from it.
Yeah, I kind of disagree with you. I think this game could get on up there. I know it's only a 43-point total, but Deontay Johnson has been steady all year. He's getting a lot of targets for Pittsburgh. Najee Harris leading the league for running backs in targets. I think both of those could be good plays today. As far as Cleveland goes, I think second game back after he gets his feet back under him last week, Jarvis Landry could come in today and have a big game for the Browns as well. I don't see a whole lot of other that I really like. I mean, there possibly could be. The Browns running game right now is kind of up in the air. I think Chubb is back today, still without Kareem Hunt. So you're going to run Chubb and Johnson together instead of Chubb and Hunt. So I think they're going to share a lot of the carries, especially after Johnson's performance last week. So I don't know that you're going to get a lot of production out of either one of those either. So
I agree 100% with you there.
While we're waiting on Geoff to try to get back, let's just move on to the next game. We'll go to San Fran at Chicago. Chicago just seems to be a hot mess right now, and San Fran just kind of looking for an identity. They've had so many injury issues.
That's very true. Just got a message from Geoff. He'll be back in a couple of minutes, having to reboot his computer. Yeah, I do like some plays in this game, though. I do like both running backs. I like the Herbert kid from the Bears as a play, and I like Mitchell from the 49ers as a play today.
Well, it seems like Deebo Samuel's just been the man for the 49ers this year as well. He's come out and just performed every week in, week out. Still not – I mean, his price has been raised some, but still not the most expensive out there. But it seems like he's getting it done. Jimmy Garoppolo back. I think Deebo could have a big game here. I do like Elijah Mitchell in this game. I think San Francisco wins this game, and I think they try to control the ball on the ground a lot today.
I agree with you, and I like Deebo as well today. He could have, he's getting numbers every week.
And let's not forget, Chicago will be without its head coach today, Matt Nagy, on the COVID protocol. I'm not sure if that hurts or helps them at this point. Yeah, I'm not sure if he's, they may be better off with him off the sideline the way they've been playing. I hate it to see it for Justin Fields, though, because he's just struggling right now. And I think if you put him in a different offense, that he could possibly be doing better. But it doesn't seem like right now he's making any progress at all in Chicago.
No, it really don't. And I expected him to, but it's I thought they would at least run with him more or something. Maybe they've told him they don't want him running. I don't know, but he ain't even been running with the ball much.
Yeah, that's true. So we'll see what happens today. I don't think he's going to run the ball a lot today on San Francisco, other than the fact that if he is running, he's going to have Bosa chasing him.
Yeah, that's for sure.
coming from his backside, so he better be ready. I see several sacks from San Fran in there today. I wouldn't mind playing their defense as well.
No, their defense is one of them I like, and back to what Geoff said earlier, I like the Bengals defense, but I do like 49ers today too.
All right, let's go to Seattle. Late game. Jacksonville at Seattle. Jacksonville has shown some sign of life, I guess you would say. Seattle they're treading water right now, and I'm not sure that they can keep up without Russell Wilson. I think they can in this game and possibly win it. But who do you like in this game? Can Jacksonville come in, bring any players in this game that's going to affect fantasy in a positive way?
Yeah, they really can. I like one of my plays today, Marvin Jones Jr. Him and Trevor Lawrence seem to have a connection going on. They've been doing pretty good together down there in Jacksonville, and I think he can have a very big game today because, as everybody knows, you can throw the ball in Seattle. Their defense isn't very good.
Well, speaking of throwing the ball in Seattle, Geno Smith throws the ball, but it's just not going into the right people's hands and completions right now. Without Russell Wilson, I think it brings down both those receivers in Lockett and DK Metcalf as well, don't you think?
Yeah, because they're both priced up there, and they need major production for their value at their price point, and Geno's not been able to give them the production they need. He's not able to get the ball.
I think Seattle possibly runs the ball a lot today. I'm not sure who's going to run the ball. I know Rashad Penny's back now, and he got a little time in last week in the game. He's been practicing with the first team from what I understand. So Penny could be the guy instead of Collins that goes today. And if so, talk about a price point bargain. Rashad Penny would be your guy.
Yeah, that's that's a good price point. I think he gets touches, period. Last I heard, they thought it was going to be both of them splitting duties in the backfield today.
Well, I think it will be. It'd be interesting to see who actually gets the start there because that could tell a lot going forward.
Right.
Let's back up a little bit. I actually skipped a game on the early games, and it's the hometown game here in Tennessee. Tennessee will go to Indianapolis today. Derrick Henry is just Derrick Henry, and no one has stopped him yet, and I don't see anyone stopping him. You just hope to slow a train down. You're not going to stop it. Indianapolis, though, we talked, they're a 2.5-point favorite. Going into today, Tennessee, it's a struggle every year with Tennessee to try to sweep the Colts. They've only done it once ever, and as Tennessee won earlier this year, this is the second meeting. I hate to say it, but man, it just seems like this could be the Colts game. And I know you disagree.
Well, I mean, I when I talked to you about last night, it threw me off on the line. And then you told me that they'd never, or one time in history that they swept the Colts. So that made more sense on the line and everything. I was wondering if they'd maybe put the line out there thinking Tennessee's going to have a letdown after the two big wins they got against Buffalo and Kansas City in back-to-back weeks.
Yeah, let's be honest, though. I mean, those are great wins, but this game being a division game means a whole lot more. If they beat Indian for the second time today, that puts them completely in the driver's seat for the AFC South. I know we talked about it last night. We joked around a little bit. Carson Wentz, though, he has been playing better. And he's not the same quarterback Tennessee saw when he was hobbled earlier in the year.
Well, that's true because last time they played, he was hobbled. He's playing better. He's still not in my opinion, he's still a number 18 quarterback in the league, number 20 quarterback in the league. He's not that good. He's managing. He's been a game manager, in my opinion.
So who do you see in this game, Arden, that you might like in fantasy? Any good buys here, or do we just go with the usual list of suspects with Henry and Taylor?
Well, you're going to want your Henry and Taylor here and there. I mean, I guess, Geoff, and since he's on here, I'll throw us out there for Geoff. He thinks Carson Wentz is a very good play. And against Tennessee's defense, some weeks I'll agree with that. I guess it's which Tennessee defense shows up and plays. But if they play like they did against the Jets, Carson Wentz would be a great play.
Yeah, and I think, too, just judging from the past history of this rivalry, so to speak, in the last few years, Jack Doyle has been a Titans killer. And I know he hadn't done much for the Colts lately, but I expect Jack Doyle to score today. And what a buy as a tight end. I know you like Pitts, but if you haven't got any money left and need a tight end, I think Doyle may be the way to go today.
I agree. I do like Pitts, but like I told you last night too, I can go with somebody that's in my tight end situation like Jack Doyle and use Pitts at my flex situation because your other tight ends are cheaper and can get numbers, and Pitts can put up numbers like a wide receiver.
Exactly. All right, let's move on out west again, back to the later games. New England Patriots at the Los Angeles Chargers. God, that is so hard for me to say.
It looked painful, Phil. It looked painful.
I really want to say San Diego. It just doesn't come out right, but I'm getting used to everybody being somewhere else. But what threw me last night, Arden, the San Diego State-Fresno game was played in Los Angeles at the Galaxy Stadium where the Chargers play. And there we go back with San Diego again. The Aztecs evidently are having a renovation on their stadium, so now they're the Los Angeles Aztecs, I guess, so to speak. But anyway, getting off that subject, we're back in L.A. with the Chargers hosting the Patriots. I know you're probably big today on Damian Harris. Chargers give up a lot of rushing yards, and I know that Austin Eckler has said he's going to play today, so that's good news for the Chargers. Herbert and the receivers have been pretty steady all year. Mac Jones is even showing now that he's coming on as a quarterback, so this could be an interesting game before it's all said and done. Chargers favored by 4. How do you see the game going, and who do you like in the game as far as fantasy?
Well, you're right. I like Damian Harris as far as one fantasy play. Another fantasy play from the New England side, I like Hunter Henry. I mean, he's gotten in the end zone, 3 or 4 straight weeks. I mean, he's starting to find the system better. This is a revenge game for him in a way, because the Chargers didn't want to pay him and everything. New England, I'm still trying to figure them out. This offense is pretty explosive for the Chargers, and Mike Williams is having a great year. So Belichick always tries to take away the hottest one, and Williams has been that. So I think this could be a big day for Keenan Allen. I think Keenan Allen could have a bigger day today.
It's interesting you brought up Hunter Henry. Hunter Henry started performing well this year after James White went out. So since they didn't have that third down back coming out of the backfield, it looks like they're going shorter routes to the tight end, and Henry fits that mold pretty well. Geoff, we're talking about the Chargers and Patriots right now, obviously. How do you see this game, and glad to have you back, by the way. Glad you got things fixed. Tell me who you like in this game.
Well, based on listening to y'all while I was in the backstage of the show, I agree with pretty much everything Arden has said. Hunter Henry has been on point. He's scored in the last 2 or 3 weeks straight. I don't see that slowing down. He's getting more targets and looks. His price point is $4,200. So at $4,200, I'd say that he is 30 to 40% to catch a touchdown. I think that's well worth your price point when you only need, 12, 13 points out of him to make sense of the price. So that's my play from that game. I'm so confused on the about what you did, Phil. I can't get used to saying Los Angeles. The Mike Williams, Keenan Allen. I cannot figure that out. Keenan Allen has been that possession receiver, first down, big play guy, and he's just kind of taken a back seat, a second look behind Mike Williams, it seems, this year. So I don't really know what to make of that, but I do like Keenan Allen this week. I think he's eventually got to become that guy again for Herbert and that offense to start moving.
Yeah, I totally agree. Allen's got to step up in that offense, especially if they want to make that run toward the playoffs. Speaking of guys who have stepped up recently, our next game, we're going to go down to New Orleans. Tampa Bay at New Orleans. Mike Evans has stepped up recently. We talked about him having his struggles throughout the first few weeks of the season, fantasy-wise. Still a great wide receiver, but just not putting the numbers up. But it looks like Tom Brady and Mike Evans have been clicking a lot lately. And today, I kind of see Tampa Bay going into New Orleans and rolling. I don't know how you see it. Geoff, tell me what you think of the game and who you like in this as far as fantasy goes.
I've been kind of falling off of New Orleans for the past few weeks, and it seems to backfire on me every time. Every time I say New Orleans isn't gonna move the football, they're not gonna do very well. They find a way to do something I'm not expecting. With that being said, this is Tampa Bay. It's Tom Brady and company. They've been phenomenal this year, as usual. They've got a stellar offensive side of the football that has so many weapons on it. Even without Gronk, they've been moving the football well. Even without AB, they've been moving the football well. I do like Mike Evans. He finally had his week last week, and I think he starts to grow off that. So I do like Mike Evans this week. I want to like one of the tight ends from Tampa Bay. I think we talked about it last night. If I choose to play Cameron Brate, then OJ Howard catches passes and touchdowns. If I play OJ Howard, Cameron Brate catches passes and touchdowns. So don't even listen to me on that. I may or may not play a guy, but it'll be the wrong play. So I'm the wrong person to ask for that right there.
Yeah. All right, Arden, New Orleans, Kamara just is Kamara every week in, week out, getting a lot of points. It seems like they're probably going to have to pass the ball a lot today. They don't have a lot of weapons on the outside. Kamara coming out of the backfield is probably going to be a monster today. Is there anybody else on that New Orleans team that you see stepping up?
No, I really don't. Like you said, they're going to be behind. They're going to be throwing the ball a lot. And a lot of it could be going to Kamara out of the backfield. And I think Kamara has a big day. I will say this on the other side and give some tidbit. Yes, Mike Evans went off last week. But if you go back and you look at this, Tampa Bay against New Orleans, Marshawn Lattimore shadows Mike Evans and has won every battle against Mike Evans since they've been playing against each other.
Very good point, Arden. Very good point. I kind of like stacking this game with just put Brady, Evans, and Godwin and let them go and see what happens, because you're not sure who's going to get the catches in that, but both of them seem to every week in, week out keep getting those catches and touchdowns. So should be an interesting game to watch. I like Tampa Bay in that game, though.
Can I add one thing?
Yes, you can.
On the New Orleans side of it, with their lack of options on the outsides of the wide receiver position, like y'all said, they are able to throw the football. Traquan Smith started getting some looks last week, so I think that's something they can build on. He's kind of a speedy guy, so at 3,900, that's if you're looking for somebody in that price range. Traquan Smith, with the amount of volume they're going to keep the ball in the air, is a good look possibly this week.
Yeah, very inexpensive and is going to get some targets, no doubt. All right, let's move on. Last game of the afternoon, Washington and Denver. This Washington football team, what a Jekyll and Hyde team. We thought their defense was going to be so stellar at the beginning of the year. Right now, they're number 32 in the league out of 32 teams and giving up points to the quarterback. Therefore, I'm looking at Teddy Bridgewater to have a big day today, relatively inexpensive. Geoff, how do you see this game? Denver, a 3.5-point favorite at home in that mountain air. Can Washington come in there, play, and who do you like in this game?
I do like the Denver side of it. I think from a just strictly football standpoint, I think Denver does win this game and cover. Like you said, Washington's defense has been bad. I do like Bridgewater. He's going to be a cheaper quarterback this week. I also like Cam Sutton and Jerry Jeudy. It's probably a stack I'm looking at doing because Washington can move the football. They have some playmakers in McLaurin and Gibson, so they'll move the football. They'll put some points up. So I think it does keep that game script kind of balanced, so it won't fade one side or the other. Denver won't just start running the football. They will keep throwing it and getting first downs and whatnot. So I do like that side of it with the stack with the Bridgewater and the receivers.
Yeah, as far as Washington goes, I kind of like Ricky Seals-Jones again today, fairly in the medium range of the tight ends. He's been getting a lot of looks. He's playing almost every snap of the ball for Washington. Arden, Antonio Gibson, hit or miss right now. What's he going to do today, hit or miss?
I don't think he has a good game today. I think you see some – I think they get behind and – he's not 100%. And I think you might see some more J.D. McKissick coming out of the backfield today. On Washington's side, my probably favorite play is Ricky Seals-Jones. Denver has a very good secondary. They have two very good cornerbacks that can match up with Washington's receivers. So I think if they're throwing the ball, it's going to have to go to Jones and go to McKissick out of the backfield a lot.
Arden, I'm going to stay with you and ask you one more question on the Denver side of the ball. They've been using the two-headed monster, so to speak, with Gordon and Williams all year. When is Javonte Williams going to get his chance?
Well, as long as they're in the chase for the playoffs, I think they keep it a tandem deal because they love Gordon's experience and being the veteran he is. But if they start losing a few games and fall out the playoff hunt, then I think they turn it over to Javonte Williams.
Well, I think he's a good young talent, and he deserves his time up. Gordon is, though, playing pretty well right now. All right, that does it for all the afternoon games today. We'll go on and finish out the schedule, though, and possibly give you some showdown lineups here. Tonight, Dak Prescott questionable for the Cowboys. From what I hear, he probably is leaning toward not playing. That opens it up for Zeke in the backfield, I think, to tote the load tonight. Minnesota, Dalvin Cook and company. I think your wideouts are playing very well. Kirk Cousins is playing great. He's going to toss his interceptions, and Dallas has a pretty good defense. But I see this coming in as a high-scoring game and probably going over and a lot of points being scored. Arden, if you were filling out a fantasy lineup tonight, tell me how you're going to go with it and how do you arrange that? How do you go about a showdown lineup as far as picking a captain?
Well, I try to take a captain that in some situations I try and take a captain that's not going to be owned by a big percentage that I think can have a good game. And this one here, if I'm picking a captain and Dak's not playing, I might be looking at Zeke getting a heavy run load or maybe even a cheaper play in Tony Pollard. the running backs and everything with Prescott being out, I'm probably just going to stay away from some of the receivers and get some Dalvin Cook in there and Justin Jefferson. I think he has a very big game, Justin Jefferson.
Well, Geoff, I know you've been big on Tony Pollard all year. My thought tonight may be a little bit of Dallas Schultz. I don't know. For some reason, I guess I'm big on tight ends today. I've brought them up over and over. How do you see this game playing out? It looks to me like without Prescott, Minnesota may have the advantage. And Dallas is going to have to throw the ball. But I'm still not sure, and I'm not sold on Minnesota either.
Well, without Dak in, this game has a completely different look to it. Dak is a whole lot of that Dallas offense. I think we all know that. If Cooper Rush is going to be your quarterback in this game, I think that changes the dynamic of what Dallas can do. Not saying he can't play, not saying he's not good, but he's not Dak, and he doesn't have the what's the word I'm looking for? He's not in tune with his guys as much as Dak Prescott is. But anyways, as far as showdown lineups go, there are two ways to go about it. You can do what Arden says and try to find that less owned guy. In a game like this, I feel there's too many superstars, and you've got to pick that superstar that you think is going to have that game. So I don't think you can fade off of the Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cook, CeeDee Lamb, Zeke. I don't think you can fade off those guys in a game with the high caliber players that are in this one. Finding that low percentage owned guy, that sneaky play is better for a game that doesn't have these high profile guys in it. And to your question about the tight ends, Phil, I have no idea. Between Schultz and Jarwin, I've given up trying to figure out who's getting the ball and who's playing what. So best of luck on that.
Much like Tampa Bay.
Correct.
All right. Well, let's move on to the last game of the week. Monday night, the Chiefs desperately needing a win, and I think this may just be what the doctor ordered, a home tilt with the New York Giants. I know last week Randall came out and said the Giants will win at Carolina, and he was correct. I don't see the Giants winning at Kansas City. Geoff?
I'd like to say no, but Kansas City haven't been good. They've been bad. What's the injury update on Mahomes? Has anybody heard anything?
I have not. As far as I know, he's going to play.
Yeah.
Okay. It looked like last week he thought he was in Disney World in the fourth quarter. So he got hit so hard, his head hit the ground. It looked painful. So I wasn't sure if he was even going to be a player this week. They've been bad, man. I said about 3 weeks ago that I'm not worried about Kansas City. I am. Kansas City's worried about Kansas City. They need this win worse than anybody else in the league right now. And I think the Giants can beat them, but it does feel like a get-right game. I don't think they will, but it's primetime football. We all know anything can happen, and we've all been surprised this year, so don't be surprised if the Giants are in this game at the end.
Yeah, Mahomes did pass concussion protocol, and he does not have any type of designation going into Monday night, so he's good to go. Arden, how do you see this game? Do you like anybody as far as to really stand out in this game?
Like I say, you got to feel like this is a get-right game for Kansas City. And if I'm looking for somebody to step up and really get it going on offense, this could be a big game, in my opinion, in Travis Kelce. He needs to have a big game. As far as do I think the Giants are going to score points? Yes. And I like some of their receivers, depending on who's healthy and who's in and out tomorrow night. But I think Sterling Shepard's in. I like Sterling Shepard on the Giants side. But I think it's a get-right game for Kansas City. And if they don't figure this one out, their year might be done.
I think their year's close to done anyway, and if they don't figure this one out and lose at home to the Giants, they can mail it in.
Yeah.
I think by the numbers, they are only like 22% right now to make the playoffs, and that's not good this late in the season. So
well, you got teams playing very well ahead of them right now, in the Raiders especially, and the Chargers are up and down, but it's going to be tough for them to pass both those teams. Although they can get hot and do it, we've seen it before.
if any team can, they can. That offense is potent. They just got to get going somehow.
All right, Geoff, before we get off the air, I know Arden was a little late, so I let him get back in and throw his Michigan State 2 cents in. You were off for just a minute while we went over the Tennessee-Indianapolis game, and I know you wanted to throw your 2 cents in on this game. Tell me why you like Carson Wentz today. As Arden disappears.
Did he leave?
He does not want to hear this.
Oh, my goodness. So I was backstage.
Wow, I have never seen anyone diss that way in my life.
He just rolled out.
And he just leaves you, man. I am so sorry.
That's all right. Lucky for him, he's in the garage and can hear me. So that game, I don't think that the Titans are going to win that game. Hey, there he is.
Yeah, sorry about that.
We thought you just left because you didn't want to hear all about Carson Wentz and how good
I
he
don't
is.
want to hear about Carson Wentz, but that's beside the point.
So the Colts are playing way differently than they were at the beginning of the year, and especially the first game against the Titans. Carson Wentz is currently a fantasy 14. So he's a 14th ranked quarterback right behind Kirk Cousins in the top 15. He's only had 1 interception all year, and that was a fluke pass deflection thing. So he hasn't actually thrown a real overhanded interception this year. Carson Wentz has been good. The numbers don't lie. There's you can't say anything about that. So I think that going forward, with him being as good as he has been, it's going to prove to be tough for the Titans. This is a better team than what they played originally, and arguably right now the Titans are playing better too. But it's just got a different feel to it, and I think that's why you see the Colts are favored right now. The Titans have found magic in a bottle over the last couple weeks. Monday Night Football against the Bills, and then holding the Kansas City Chiefs to no touchdowns last week. I think that was the first time since 2016, pre-Mahomes. So they're playing
It was, and if you would have wanted to get rich last week, you could have bet somebody that Derrick Henry throws more touchdowns than Patrick Mahomes.
Oh yeah,
cashed in.
Oh yeah. One of the best things I saw all week last week was you can't be the MVP without being a quarterback, and Derrick Henry says, "Hold my beer." So it's he's the all around guy right now, but this is I think it's going to be a good game to watch. It's going to be a fun game to watch. But I do think that Indianapolis pulls it out. And despite my buddy's feelings over here on Carson Wentz, Carson has been good. And I think he'll continue to be good with the team he's got around him.
Well, before we go today, let's get just a little bit of preview for next week in college as far as what's going to happen and what we see in the top 25. I'm trying to pull it up right now, and I can't get there. But here we are. Okay. We have big games really not abounding next week. We've got really Cincinnati, Tulsa, Oregon, Washington, Kentucky, Tennessee, Iowa State, Texas. Not a lot of huge games next week on tap. One that is interesting that I see here, Michigan State, Arden, your team playing the Purdue Boilermakers, the upset kids. So that could be a big game and determine how things go a little bit. Auburn, Texas A&M in the SEC. I think that's going to go a long way in determining the West. Alabama LSU, obviously, always a rivalry game. Although I'm not sure how competitive it's going to be this week. And Ohio State playing Nebraska, which they should win that game. Other than that, not a whole lot on tap next week as far as games that I see that there's going to be any upsets at. So, however this college football playoff starts as far as a poll, I think it's going to continue that way the week after. One game I do see that kind of intrigues me, Wake Forest at North Carolina. I know North Carolina's been down. Geoff, you seem to be shaking your head a little bit. You got an opinion on this game?
Well, I was sitting there looking at it going, as far as the early games go, I agree with you. But that Wake Forest UNC game does kind of stick out at me. North Carolina played pretty well this past week. I don't know if that's any indication of moving forward, if they're going to start playing better. But if it is, and they do have a solid football game, it does make that game a little bit more important, and we might get to see what Wake has or doesn't have. And obviously, it will have an impact on that moving forward as far as Wake and the playoff talk.
Arden, did I reel off any games of interest to you, or what do you see next week in the college football ranks?
Well, like you said, that could be a Michigan State game. That could, coming off the big win, that could be a letdown game. I understand your point on that. No, really, just the Auburn A&M. I don't think the LSU Bama game's that competitive. I think the Auburn A&M is going to be a very good game, and I think Auburn's getting better every week.
I agree with that. Auburn still controls its own destiny with Alabama coming up on the horizon after A&M, so we'll see what happens with that one. Arden, give us a few last thoughts before we get out of here today.
Well, a few last thoughts here are, for one, go Braves tonight, win the World Series. Two, I don't know, I'm blank.
Okay, I shouldn't have made that plural. I'm sorry. That was my bad. I should have said, give me one last thought, Arden. We'll go with go Braves and say it twice. Go Braves, go Braves. Geoff, help me get out of here, please.
That might have been one of the best things I've seen in a while. So, yes, obviously go Braves. The college football season is starting to pick up. We're starting to get our first real poll. So moving forward, that's going to be interesting. I can't wait till that poll comes out Tuesday. It will show you what these games coming up actually mean and where this committee actually has them ranked. As far as the NFL season goes, again, KC needs this win. They need a win worse than anybody else in the league. You're probably going to see a playoff without them, which is hard to believe with that team. But if they don't get a win this week, I think it's a done deal. So let's watch, see what happens, and it should be it's definitely going to be an entertaining college season. A couple weeks left to see what comes out. 3 weeks left, and it's going to be fun. So pay attention.
Well, you were just the opposite. I said, give me one thought, and here you go on for 5 minutes. So. All right, guys, there are some good new teams in the NFL popping up, like the Cincinnati Bengals, that we haven't seen recently. So it's going to be an interesting drive down the stretch for the NFL and no doubt for college football. I'm looking forward to Tuesday night when the poll comes out. I'll say it for you two guys. Go Braves, go Braves. I hate the Astros, so go Braves. We thank everybody that tuned in with us today, and we hope you tune in with us next week again. Randall Cunningham hopefully might be back with us next week as well. So for Randall, for Arden Scroggins, Geoff Miller, I'm Phil Dye, and we're signing off for today. We'll see you next week.